Welcome. You've found us. It is the Hellas Chrome podcast coming at you once again on this Tuesday evening. Hope everyone is doing well out there. Um, this is your one true independent supporter podcast, bringing you the latest in all the happenings of La Raza de San Diego, your official supporters union. Well, unofficial, I guess, technically speaking, supporters union for SDFC. Man, it has been a busy week of soccer. Of course, for a lot of us who are involved in this thing, it's been a little bit of a busy time for other reasons. And I think to fill us in, we can bring in our producer and the president of La Raza, John Cross. John, what's up?
Andrew, thank you. Not much. I mean, slightly less busy week this last week than it was the week before, but still busy. I know we were talking before the show about whether either of us were watching the semis today, the games and stuff, and we're both talking about how busy we are. So haven't been able to catch as much summer soccer as I would like, but excited
Yeah,
about all the things that we are doing in terms of the supporters union.
I hope everyone else is enjoying their summer of soccer. I really do. I really wish I could, but yeah, it's just a crazy time right now. You would think summer break should, there's no soccer for the kid, right? Like the club season is on break, but and it just never stops. We have been He has his learner's permit now. We have been
Good.
on the roads. I got the student driver magnets for the car so that everybody knows that this person is slow and
Very,
can't
very
drive.
familiar with those.
And gosh, what an experience it is riding shotgun with a driver in training. It's been a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. But we're haven't crashed into anything yet, so everything's going pretty well on that front, I think.
That's good. That my youngest, after he actually got his license, because we still had those same magnets, he loved to try to sneak that onto my vehicle as often as he could to see if I would notice or not notice, so that I would be driving around with a giant student driver magnet on my car.
It is funny, because I drive like an asshole. So, like, can you imagine like seeing somebody like speeding by you and like changing lanes, like with that magnet? Like, I'd be like, what the? It is kind of funny.
To be fair, I started it because I threw it back on his car after he got his license, just to see how long it took him to notice, that he had that back on there. But anyway, that's my driver story.
Well, hopefully, we get through the summer unscratched and unscathed. But yeah, there have been, we've got the Copa, we've got the Euros happening right now. I am seeing, stuff on TikTok and whatever from like that's the limit of my exposure. I have not been able to get out and watch any of these games, anywhere. I think it's the same for you, right?
Certainly haven't been to any watch parties. I've been trying to sneak in what I can, just at home, but frankly, my time's busy right now with union stuff. So a couple times, like my wife came home from running some errands and she said, "Why aren't you watching the game? It's halftime, for the France Spain game this afternoon." I'm like, oh yeah, there's soccer on. I've just been a little busy getting things together, which is fine. I miss it. I miss watching. I thoroughly enjoy usually sitting down and watching all the summer tournaments when we have them, but this is kind of an exciting time for getting our supporters union together. So it's it's work that I am enjoying doing and putting together, and just kind of get lost in it a little bit and realize I've missed a match or missed the morning match or something.
I'm so
So
sick and tired of these Europeans having these games at noon. What are you doing? Get on Pacific time. If this, imagine France and Spain is on like right now, it would be awesome. Like, what are they doing over there? I don't know what's going through their minds. It's the middle of the day. People are at work. I don't know who's going to these games. It's just insane that they insist on having games in the middle of the workday.
It'll be interesting to see what time kickoffs are for the 2026 Men's World Cup, because the last time in 94, games were all in the middle of the day to appease the European audience so they would get their primetime games. And we'd have our games early-ish, and the heat for some of those games was just absolutely brutal. So I'm curious whether they try to accommodate a European audience with our kickoff times, or we get more of the primetime kickoff times here, and some other places around the world will have to get up at 2 in the morning to watch their
I
teams
feel like
play.
that was just a different world in 1994. Back then we didn't have Joe Biden as the president, and Joe Biden, he's going to make sure that we get our matches in the evening, I'm sure. And if Trump's in there, forget about it. You think he's going to accommodate these Europeans? I don't think so. He doesn't even like NATO. Why would he let the soccer be? I think we're going to be in good hands. We're going to be
in. Be able to get that out.
We're going to be in great hands, no matter what. I don't see. I say that I'm not going off of anything but vibes right now, honestly. But this is supposed to be like our. The way it's being set up is like this is our. More so than 94, right? Like this World Cup, hosted across the 3 countries. It's in the $1 billion NFL stadiums. They're all going to spend a bunch of money to get. I mean, I hope they get these fields figured out. It seems like nobody can figure out how to plant grass anymore. And when you have to do it on like a lot of these stadiums, they have to like build these elevated platforms just to get the pitch dimensions correct. It's going to be quite an undertaking. I don't know. I don't see them making everybody haul in there at 1 p.m. on a Tuesday for a match. I hope that they don't do that. I mean, when the Olympics were in Japan, or they're in Japan this year, right? Was that 2020?
Paris for Summer Olympics.
Paris. Okay. Are they going to be having their matches at times to accommodate us? No.
Yeah.
China didn't do it. Like, I just don't see. I don't know if we're in that kind of a world anymore. That doesn't stop the incredible minds at NBC Sports from tape delaying matches, which I think that's the real crime in all of this, is tape delaying live sports, because you get the notification on your phone, right? If USA basketball wins or whatever, and then 9 hours later you sit down and you watch the game. It's terrible. I hope they fix that for this Olympics. And we do have soccer in the Olympics this year, right? So
we do.
And
we have the U.S. for the first time, men at least, for the first time in a long time, playing in the Olympics.
Yeah, they don't got anywhere else to play right now, do they?
Yeah. Not the men, anyway.
Well, let's go ahead and talk a little bit of La Raza business. I think that, when we last left off, we were talking a lot about a little bit of I wouldn't say it's a fight, more of just a differing of opinions between some folks at the club and us about the best way to move forward. But I think that's kind of been, we haven't met with the club since then, so nothing's been formalized, but I think we're trying to get in a place to where we can just set that aside a little bit and move forward with the other things that we have to get done, because
right,
if we litigate and hash out and stop everything we're doing to hash out every conflict or disagreement or negotiation, we're never going to get this thing over the finish line. So we have to be able to set some things aside and keep moving with what we've got to do. So what is the next thing we got to do, John? What's next on the schedule? I know we've got some committees to form and get to work. We did have a summit of La Raza last week. We can talk a
Right.
little bit about that. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the summit from last week first. So we had a little mini summit with the leaders. We got tried to get, if with accommodating schedules, which is always the difficult thing. After the events of the week before, we did a little mini summit with roughly 4 people from each SG coming in, and really to kind of look at some shared values and some shared vision for the union. Make sure we're all on the same page, make sure we're all marching in the same direction for what we want to do, and talk about some of the things you just said. Put a pin in a couple of the things we've been working on and pivot a little bit to start working and shaping some of the things that we haven't yet, that we need to spend some time putting together. So that was part of that meeting, was just kind of getting everybody on the same page. And you were there at the meeting. You can give your
I
thoughts.
was.
I thought it went pretty well overall. It was nice to, I think, have some smaller conversations with lots of people from different groups and really kind of refocus our energies as a supporters union. And then let me get your thoughts, and then we can talk about the committees.
Yeah, I thought it was really good just for me personally to kind of hear where other people are coming from, because I have such a singular experience with supporter groups and supporter culture, being only involved with this one. And I'm a kind of a hard-headed person, so I see things the way I see them, and like it was really interesting to hear kind of the things that other people find are important, and what they're looking to get out of it, and what they kind of where they see us fitting into the landscape. Like, what do you think our relationship with this club should be? What do you think we should be?
Right.
What is worth fighting for? What's worth is it even a big deal that we do this or that or that? So it was really interesting to hear from other people. And what was really great was not that I haven't met people from the other supporter groups. I have, but it's only been like their leaders, the president and the vice president, or the people that
Right.
they send to the club for the meeting. But in this summit, we encouraged every group to bring kind of whoever you want to bring, who was ready to contribute and cared about this. So it was great to have people that I had never met before and never seen. It was great to talk with them and get their input, because they're kind of the more, I mean, they're in leadership of their respective SGs, but maybe they're not somebody that is constantly interacting with the leadership of the other SGs. So that was really cool. I like that, and finding out, finding the common ground, and what values we all share was great. I also got to kind of make my case, because I am an arguing type of person. I do like to argue, and I do like to I don't know, man. I have this thing in me, right, where I mean, maybe I'm full of shit half the time, but like I really do believe that unions are strong, and that united we can do whatever we want, as long as we stick together and as long as we support each other. And so yeah, it kind of gives me a chance to kind of communicate that to other people, which I think is more effective in person than just typing with my thumbs on Discord. So being able to make my case about why, like, because for me the most important thing is that kind of independence, and that we don't let anybody push us around. To me, that's so important, right? And maybe that's not the same for everybody, but certainly for me, and it was great to have Steve there, because he and I are kind of lockstep on that, right? We both really care about that. So that was really great, being able to kind of make the case to people who maybe don't think of it that way, or they're not as inclined to go that way. So at least they could hear that perspective, because I don't know if they're always hearing it.
Right. And to go back to someone thing you said earlier, it was nice to have new voices there. Certainly, I enjoyed that as well, and we encourage that, and we encourage to try to get each SG to bring some newer voices into the fold, because we've been talking about this on the podcast. It's been a push since I have been president, which has only been 2 weeks right now, but to try to get these committees going and open things up. And we'll talk about those in just a second. But it was nice to have these small conversations, have new voices in there. And it was also nice to reaffirm a lot of the same things that we had seen. Probably the two biggest things that I heard come up were independence, and that, as we said in our meeting, kind of means something a little different to each person. And we'll likely have another one of these summits in August to help clarify, like, what does that look like in action, for these. And the other one was community. That was really the big one that came out. We want this to be a community and to represent our community. So there are a lot of aspects around the word community that was very strong, that I overheard in conversations and that we put in part of our initial values as we're looking to do, well, kind of like the shirt I'm wearing, right? To do our vision, the shoulder to shoulder with one voice, what we want match days to look like, and make sure we're all headed in the same direction, trying to achieve the same goal as a union. As we got many SGs and we've got lots of varied voices in there. So understanding where we want to be and understanding what our values are going to help us have those difficult conversations when we
Sure.
have to have those difficult conversations.
So yeah, that's really interesting. And I, obviously, in a group like that, it's, I already talked too much. I really didn't want to like monopolize the conversation or go off on too many tangents, but I agree that community is important, and that's the whole thing that we're doing here. But like, as a value, kind of hard to define what kind of community is not a I mean, it's not a value, right? Like it's a thing that's important, but I mean, like, I don't know, it's not a value. I don't know if it fits that definition. Like, communities are built upon values, I would say, right? Like, we are going to build this community on a set of values, and like identifying those values, I think, is super important. Like, we all want community, of course we do. We all want this to be a vibrant, diverse, welcoming and energetic community. But I don't think that in and of itself is a value, right? Like, it's a goal. And, really drilling down and like identifying what values we want to build that community upon, right? Like, independence, passion, and standing. I mean, standing through the match. That energetic game day experience. Like, those are kind of like the things that, outside of this hard to define community value, like those are the things that just people talk about like being important, right? Like, being able to have that section full of people that are participating and that are unified, and we're all doing the same chants and we're all doing the same songs. The drums are tight, the drums are together. Like, those are like the things that we build this community on. And so, I mean, time and place, I am learning how to not interject in opportune times, but I appreciate that everybody values the community, but the community is not a value, I think, is my argument. I don't know if I'm making it very well here.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. It's just, when we did this, I the only thing I want to even say push back on is we left that wide open, right? We wanted people to come up with things that were important to them. We called them values. But you're right. This is the whole reason for the next summit is, okay, then what do all these things look like? Even independence. What does that look like in action? Because, again, probably need to break that down a little bit as to what we need. What are the things
Right.
that are important to us in the way we conduct ourselves?
Like, are we never going to let the club buy us anything, or are we going to let them, like, those are like the levels, right? Like, we could be like, don't do anything. That is like a hardcore independence, right? Is where like, you don't do anything for us, you don't do us any favors. Like, I don't think that's what we want, right? We do want to have a working relationship, and we do want to make things easier for the people in the supporter section, be that through discounts, merch, whatever the kind of discounts might be coming, right? But
Of course.
roundabout, that is, the club, providing us some kind of financial. I mean, it's not like financial aid, but it is like perks or whatever that you might get. So, like, there's obviously a shade of gray when we talk about independence, right? Like, we need to kind of talk about that, right? There are levels to
Right.
what we want
And
to
and
do.
there's, you know, ultimately, ideally, everything works better if both the union and the FO are on the same page, right? If we're on the same page and we're in agreement and we're moving forward, everything goes smoothly, right? And that's probably where we're going to be 90% of the time. Um, it just, I want to make sure, kind of, I guess, in my role as president as we move forward, that we really think carefully about what our value, think about some of these things ahead of time, understand what they mean to us, so when we have to have those difficult conversations, as I said before, they're easier for us to have those conversations because we've thought about how we want to handle certain situations or how we want to behave. Or, you know, is it, when we say independence, like cut and dry, nothing, no help, whatever? Or is there a way for us to still, I'll say, exert our independence and still, though, collaborate with the club at the same time? I
Right.
think, again, ultimately, that's, we want to collaborate. We want to be able to work together. And I am confident, we will end up there. But, there's just going to be bumps along the road here and there. And
Yeah.
that's fine.
I-
That's part of the process.
And I don't know if everybody kind of can see far enough down the road to understand maybe what some of the concerns are, right? They're all hypothetical at this point, but there is a very real possibility and probability that at some point somebody in marketing from the club is going to use images of our group, our section, something in some kind of commercial promotion, for be it tickets or something, right? Like, they're going to use what we do for marketing, right? There are going to be sponsors, who sponsor the team, right? This stadium's called Snapdragon. Qualcomm is a big partner here. So, what happens when somebody from Qualcomm comes and they have the latest, Galaxy phone, and they want the capo of the supporter group to do a Galaxy phone video during a chant or something, right? Like, how do we respond when something like that comes about, right? Like, these are the type of things that, some people don't see it as a big deal, but some people would be very uncomfortable being
Right.
commoditized in that way, right? Like, so, what we are able to do as a supporters union, is very powerful. We're able to go in the community and do community service projects, and each individual SG has their own kind of community service wing or arm, but then as the union, we're going to have the same thing. And, you know, do we want our likeness, our logo, our name affiliated with, selling smartphones to people? That's a value issue, right? Like, so that's, I think, realizing like um, how much pressure there might be on people in the sales department or in marketing to, commoditize this union, to the to help the club financially, is that's coming, right? And we have to be ready to handle, and there's going to be some of that, right? Like, if what we do looks and sounds as cool as we want it to look and sound, like it's going to make for great TV. It's going to make for great, social media videos. It's going to make for great, Instagram reels, and it's going to make for great promotional material from the club, right? Like, it's not like we can avoid that, right? Like, so there's give and take, right? Like, you accept that, yeah, what we do on match day during the match is probably going to show up on, social media and whatever. Um, and that comes with it, right? But then, like, where where is the boundary? Where is the border? Like, where do we draw the line as far as, other types of sponsored content and things like that? It just gets really in the weeds. And that's why I think we talk about values like independence, like right now it's just so conceptual, right? Because all of these things are hypothetical, right? What if they do this? What if this happens? What if this goes down the road? What if they say that we have too many chants in Spanish? What if they, little things that haven't happened, but, you know, could happen. That's why I think part of this whole effort, right, us doing this podcast even, right, is to kind of help, you know, educate people as to what we're doing here, and kind of the stakes behind what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. And I, sorry, it's embarrassing. I just totally lost my train of thought. So I'm going to toss it back over to you, or ask you if you want to talk about the committees, since I just
Yeah,
completely lost what I was going to
no,
say.
no worries, no worries. But yeah, the summit was great. And I think that coming out of it, everybody, at least they kind of know what flavors are out there, right? Like everybody, no
Right.
matter what they brought into it, everybody came out of it kind of understanding, like, okay, so maybe the folks in this group, they're looking at this way. Like, I think Riptides looks at things in a very practical manner, right? Like, they feel like they have an obligation to their members to be recognized, and to get the best prices for their members, right? Like, that is the things that they are promising their members. Or not, I mean, they can promise all they want, but that's the kind of things that they're telling their members they're going to fight for. So, um, which is perfectly reasonable and justifiable thing to bring into negotiations. But other supporter groups are, maybe, I don't know what the numbers are for all the groups, but like Dago Boys, for example, like they care about making music and singing and chanting. Like that's really what they're focused on, and so they kind of bring a different perspective to it. So I think it's really useful for everybody in every group to kind of really hear and understand where everybody else is coming from, as we kind of navigate one of the early obstacles to this whole process.
Right. And I think as becoming a union and making sure we're on the same page, it helps us leverage the strength and skills of each of the supporter groups, right, to the benefit of the whole. So I think that's one of the advantages we have of moving forward with this union.
I think we need more
And
of these summits and more opportunities for the members of these SGs who are not involved in the
right,
council and leadership to mix and mingle and get together and kind of, you know, it's one thing to like set up a pop up in a brewery parking lot, because then we still kind of tend to stay with our people. But I think this summit that's organized and structured in a way that forces people to mix and match, and we did like musical chairs where we all sat down and talked. I thought that was great because it really forced everybody to talk with somebody from a different group and to hear perspectives from the other groups. So I think more things like this are going to be really beneficial to forming that community that we all say is so important to us.
right. And then one of the things that we pushed towards the end of the summit that we had was these committees. And I'm happy to say that we have had quite a few people sign up already for the committees. I think we're well into the 30s of new people coming in, which is, I guess, somewhere between tripling and quadrupling the size of our people that are on the La Raza de San Diego Discord server now. So it's good to have some new voices in there and have some new conversations starting. So several of the committees have already started some conversations and now trying to get all of the committees up and running this week, trying to figure out days to meet. So if you have not joined a committee yet and you're interested, we'd love to have your voice in those conversations. Thank you ahead of time for anybody who's willing to give up their time to do this, to help build this union that we're trying to build. But also, maybe as a perk for some people who really want to be in the know, if you help us with these things, it does get you on the Discord server and gives you a chance to also kind of get looped into some of the other conversations that are happening. And as Andrew said, like for the longest time, and there were some logistics as to why this happened, it was really a handful of people, maybe at its broadest reach about 30 total people, but really it was more about 14. It was a couple from each SG that were really participating in most of the conversations. Now that we have our initial executive team elected, and now that we're getting the committees going, we've brought in more than 30 fresh faces helping out. So we've greatly increased it, and these are new people, you know, in addition to the ones who are already helping before. So we're looking at probably a team all told somewhere. I'll have to double check the spreadsheet, but by the time everybody signs up, I'd say we're somewhere going to be between 60 and 100 people strong, in terms of the people who are in there in Discord helping shape what this union is going to look like. And these are committees right now. There's 7 of them, but they're going to split into some smaller, more focused communities probably fairly soon. But we think it's like membership and comms and events, which events includes every event right now. Match day stuff falls under there for the moment, but that I'm sure at some point is going to be split off.
These are in Discord?
Well, the form to do it should be out. Like, check with your leaders. If you're listening to this podcast, check with your leaders. They have access to the form. It's in the La Raza Discord. The link has been sent out. If your SG has a Discord in several different groups, people are willing to share it. I'm going to put it in our
The
chat.
committees, though. The committees are in the La Raza Discord?
They are. Yep. They're set up in there.
Where?
And then the conversations.
I don't see them.
I'll talk
I just
to
don't.
you.
Okay, yeah, I don't see them.
Yeah. I'll talk to you at the end to check, because this is one of the things we want to make sure permissions and things are set right. That's part of what we're doing this week. But we will. I'll help you out after our show.
Well, let's pause the live stream and fix my very specific personal permissions problem in Discord. I think the audience would appreciate that that was rectified immediately. No,
we would appreciate the walkthrough. But if you do sign up on the form, if you do have any trouble, I have my contact information there that you can contact me to get help set up. But we are trying to make sure everybody is set up in there this week and start getting on their committees so we can start doing this work. So happy to say that those committees have started. We have a bunch of people getting involved and helping us in all areas. Everything from songs and chants to getting our fiscal organization in order. So everything we need to have a strong union that will be legally incorporated in the state of California as a nonprofit entity, and at the same time be able to do all the fun shit that we want to do on match days, right? So we need help with all of it. So if you're still interested and you haven't signed up yet, talk to one of your leaders from your group, or you can, trying to think what would be good. I don't know. I'm going to let you talk, and I'm going to put a couple of things in the chat here.
I made the form and I felt like I didn't need to fill out the form. Maybe that's what happened there. Because I did not fill out the volunteer form because I guess I just assumed, having made the form, that the volunteering was a given. But I'm sorry, I'm still on this other thing.
That's all right. I'm just getting the link set up. I'm going to put it in our chat. For anybody who watches the show then on YouTube or comes back, should still be able to see these and get that out there. Okay, so at least I got that out in the chat for anybody, or if they're listening to it on another podcast, you can head over to YouTube to see the link if for some reason your leaders don't have access to it. But that will get you signed up on one of the committees. You get to pick which one you'd like to help with, or ones, plural. And we will get you set up and get you on the Discord server and put you to work.
All right. So, what's coming up next with the club? I know that there are more. I know there was. I think there was watch parties today and here in Chula Vista, and another one. I'm not sure what the second one was, but yeah, this is just a constantly ongoing thing. What do we got coming up?
Okay, so again, we record on Tuesdays. So on Wednesday, if you listen to this early enough, they're doing watch parties for both the semis. So the second Euro semi is Netherlands and England, and that's going to be down at Bluefoot in North Park at noon. And if you want to watch the second Copa America semi, that's Uruguay and Colombia. And that's going to be at San Diego Brewing Company in Grantville. And that'll be at 5 o'clock. So both of those will be on Wednesday for those semifinals. And then the final, they're going to be up in North County. I think this is one of their only, of all their summer of soccer events, one of their only North County things that they've done. So North County Coastal, the Euro final is going to be at the Pillbox Tavern on Sunday. That's in Solana Beach. And the Euro final will start at noon. And then later that day at the Saddle Bar in Solana Beach, they'll have the Copa America final at 5 p.m.
All right.
Those are, at least until our next show, those are the big things that are happening in terms of the club. Those are the club watch parties.
All right. So yeah, keep an eye on Discord. Volunteer for these committees. We'd love to work with as many people as we can to get this going. It's really important that we get these things established because the end result and what we really want to get to, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but what we really want to do is, eventually get a membership portal open so that every member of every supporter group can put their name in as a member affiliated with whatever SG. We really want to get that set up so that we can go to the club and say, look, we've got 1,000 people signed up in this thing. Like, we have the numbers. We're going to be able to fill the section, because as soon as we show the club that we can fill the section, the sooner that they kind of have to take us seriously. Right now everything's conceptual, everything's hypothetical. We are doing all of this work and we're going to get there. That section is going to be full, but until we can, put it on paper and show it in black and white, everything's just conceptual. So we really need to get there, because it really just gives us, kind of that leverage, that it just gives us a legitimacy that, right now is still conceptual. So, we can't do that until we have right now, we don't have a constitution, right? All we have is the Declaration of Independence. And let me tell you, that didn't get us anywhere, right? We need that constitution. We're going to skip the Articles of Confederation. We're going to get it right the first time. Yeah, I know John, the teacher, liked that.
That's about where we are. It's a good analogy. So we're trying to get that final step and put all the last pieces in place so that we can strongly move forward. We're moving forward, and they're doing it. But like you said, to have that, have people actually sign up, have it be real. Because like you said, right now it's conceptual. We're all in agreement for what we want to do and how we want to move forward. We're ironing out the details right now, but there's a couple things we need to get in place over this month and probably early August to actually make it real, where we can start accepting memberships and then move forward from there. And then that, I think, will be a huge game changer for us moving forward.
All right. So we'll be here every Tuesday. We'll be here next Tuesday. I'm sorry. I'm
big things. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm ready to yet. I'm ready to pack it up, man. I thought we were light week this week. I was going to drive us right off the cliff.
Light, but two huge things. On Sunday are the finals for the Copa America and the Euros, and we did talk about the club's watch parties. But also, which is probably important to our soccer community because some of these original founding members are part of a lot of the different supporter groups here. But Bridge Barcata will be doing, I don't know about their final session, but a final session with the original crew that started Bridge Barcata. That would be Brandon, Daryl, Drew, Carl, and Paul. That's going to take place this Sunday down at Chicano Park at 3 o'clock. So sandwiched right in between the two finals. So if you maybe want to do something else, or maybe watching the finals is not quite your thing, or you're kind of turned off maybe by some of the teams, you don't care who's in there anymore, maybe you want to play a little, you can go down for Bridge Barcata session. Again, they've billed it as the last session with the original crew, but they'll be down there at 3 o'clock. Now, this is also for those who maybe don't know, Chicano Park is down there in Logan Heights, and it is very close to Border X. And Border X, they're also, Chavos is doing a watch party at Border X for both finals. So again, you can be very close. You could watch a final. You could go play Bridge Barcata. You could get some food and drink. You could go back and watch the other final. But if you are going to go down there to Bridge Barcata or to the Chavos watch party, Chavos is also doing their, I believe, 4th annual Chavos Helping Chavos backpack drive. So if you have a backpack, if you're not aware, they do this backpack drive and they give it out, give these backpacks and school supplies out to students. So you can bring a backpack down with you, head down to Chicano Park, play, head over to Border X, bring a backpack, or if you check the Chavos socials, there's a way to just Venmo some money as well, and help them either raise money or bring a backpack in to help kids in the area get ready for school coming up. So I absolutely wanted to make sure we got those two things in before we closed up the show. So Bridge
Yeah,
Barcata
and
at
I'm
3
glad
o'clock
you
at Chicano Park,
I'm
and
glad
then
you
the
got it in there.
watch party / backpack drive for Chavos down at Border X.
I really wanted to shout out to Paul Naku and who just does so much work in this community. Really, just when you talk about community, like this is like the guy you're talking about, in my opinion. You know, Bridge Ricardo started a few years ago, and it evolved to the point where they were able to get, you know, San Diego Loyal and some other, I'm not sure what other clubs might be involved, but they were able to get soccer goals installed in the park underneath the basketball goals. They just pull it up
It's those
from the
pop-up
ground,
ones, yeah.
and they're permanently installed in the parks. They're in at least two parks that I'm aware of. There might be more, but um, and that's kind of part of. I know that some of the folks have moved away, and you know people have families and their lives go on. But the installation of these kind of permanent goals, you know, it really kind of is a you know, one of those moments where like all of the work that's been done to grow this thing, you know, is shown, right, where like the value in it has been proven to where people put up the money to invest in these communities and invest in this infrastructure so that people can play street soccer anytime. You don't have to wait for Bridge Ricardo to organize pickup soccer at the basketball court. You can just go and play at any time, which is really fantastic, and you know wasn't as possible you know before. So it is actually a lot of fun. Being a person that is not in great shape, I've been able to play, um, and it's really a lot of fun. It's all skill levels are welcome. It is totally pickup, so like you might be playing with a 6-year-old kid, and then you have like a professional soccer player also on your team. Like it's just you don't know who's going to show up any given day. And I would expect for this last one that there will be. I would. I'm not making any promises because I don't know, but I think a lot of people are going to show up, and it should be a lot of fun.
Should be a lot of fun. I will probably have to bring my camera for this, because for people who don't know my background, I still have, it's just on hiatus right now, but have a YouTube channel I do called Soccer Shorts. And a lot of the Bridge Bar Kata stuff has been documented. I put a link in the chat also if anybody is not very familiar with Bridge Bar Kata or don't really know the history. All the way back from truly being under the bridge that the bridge part of Bridge Bar Kata is named after, but underneath Interstate 15 over when it was still Qualcomm, and sweeping out the dirt underneath the freeway to create a space to play. You got the whole history in there if you want to check that out. So I put the link in the chat. And I may have to get my camera, dust off the camera and mics and bring those out and do some final closing interviews and put a little something together here when I have the time. But I'd like to at least record the interviews so I have them. So I'll probably be bringing that down with me on Sunday.
All right, John. I don't want to do another false start. Are we good? Did we hit everything that we need to hit? I usually ask you that, and then the one time I don't, I fall on my face. So let me just check myself here. Are we good?
We are good. The only comment I would like to add is, we have some people watching us live. I would definitely like some audience participation here, especially as we get to the end of the show, that if there's any questions people have, to please throw those out there. So before we close, we can answer some
Remember,
of those
John
questions.
is the president of La Raza de San Diego. This is your chance to talk directly to the executive, the commander-in-chief, the commander-in-chief himself over here. I do want to mention before anybody decides to send an email or get in my DMs, I am aware that Europe is on a different schedule than the United States. I was kidding. I am aware that it is not lunchtime in Europe whenever it is lunchtime here. I actually do know that.
All right. I think that wraps it up for us. And hopefully we'll have some good committee news to report next week, and some news about incorporating over the next couple of weeks, and getting closer and closer to start collecting memberships.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Sean. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll be here next week. Drop us a line. Let us know what you have any questions, things that you want us to spend more time on. We did not touch the wave controversy. I'm glad we didn't, because I don't know enough about it.
Right.
But obviously, I don't want to act like that's not out there, because it definitely is. And I think there are other soccer podcasts in San Diego who do a much better job at. You can just hear us speculate. I mean, that's all I have to offer. I think other people probably handle things differently and better. So we're not going to step in it this week, at least, but that's out there. I wanted to acknowledge it. But okay. Well, thanks so much, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Bye.